Good morning, and welcome to the first of 6 webinars on property assessments in Arkansas. I'm Wayne Miller, professor with Community and Economic Development Program with the University of Arkansas System, Division of Agriculture. And this webinar series is part of our local government program to provide resources and assistance to local governments to help them maintain and enhance their local infrastructure, services, and amenities that they provide for their local citizens and businesses. But why property assessments? Well, it's our view that everybody has a stake in property assessments in Arkansas for 2 reasons. One is that most everybody pays the property tax, either directly or indirectly. And second is the property tax is a very important source of revenue for local governments, whether it's providing roads, maintaining roads, or providing education for our students, public safety, services such as healthcare and recreation services, all provided by local governments. What we want to cover in these webinars, and I think people should be interested in, is really some of the laws and regulations affecting property assessments in Arkansas, some of the agencies and their roles and responsibilities for administering the property assessment program, and of course what property is assessed and what methods are used to assess this property. To do this, we've invited experts from the Arkansas Assessment Coordination Department and the Tax Division of the Arkansas Public Service Commission to provide us some answers to these issues. Before we go on to our presentation for today, I'd like to give you just a visual representation of where the property tax revenue goes and how important it is for school districts and counties. From this pie chart, you can see that statewide, a little over 3/4 of property tax revenue goes to your K through 12 schools. Another 15% goes to counties and 8% to cities. Now, this may vary from county to county a little bit. For example, I think in school districts may get from between maybe 70 and 90% of the property tax revenue. Next, let's look at how important this revenue is for school districts and counties in the state. Now, this is statewide again, and counties vary. But you see on the left 3 columns, the school districts, statewide, approximately 1/3 of the school district revenue comes from the property tax. Now, you can see there's a wide variation because this ranges from a low of 15% up to 62% for some school districts. So, of course, the more wealthy school districts rely more on the property tax and get less revenue from outside, from state and federal governments. Likewise, the counties get 23% of their revenue from the property tax statewide, and this varies from about 5% to 40%. And so what we want to emphasize here is that the property tax affects us all. It's a local revenue supporting local services. Now I'd like to introduce our speaker for today, Mark Wyers, who's the Division Administrator for Racial Studies with the Assessment Coordination Department. And Mark worked for the Pulaski County Assessor's Office from 2010 until January of this year. He has his level 4 appraiser certification and his appraisal management certification from the state of Arkansas. He also has some international certifications. I think one is a residential evaluation specialist certification and an assessment administration specialist from the International Association of Assessors. And he's also the international instructor for this organization. So Mark, we welcome you and we look forward to your presentation.
Thank you, Wayne. Good morning. I am Mark Wyers. As Wayne said, I'm from the Assessment Coordination Department of the state of Arkansas. The title of my presentation today is Property Assessments and the Assessment Process. The mission statement of the Assessment Coordination Department is to efficiently promote and oversee fair, equitable, and uniform property tax treatment for all taxpayers local government officials, and school districts within and across all 75 Arkansas counties. Responsibilities of the Arkansas Assessment Coordination Department. First, Act 436 of 1997 created the Assessment Coordination Department, though the department has existed in various forms previously. The Assessment Coordination Department exercises general and complete supervision over the valuation, assessment, and equalization of all real and personal property for ad valorem tax purposes. Ad valorem is a Latin term that simply means according to the value. We confer with, advise, and guide the county's elected officials and other officials with respect to their ad valorem taxation duties. And also we confer with the governor's office, other state agencies, taxpayers, and or their professional tax representatives. Some different administrative responsibilities of the Arkansas Assessment Coordination Department are that we manage the Arkansas Real Property Reappraisal Fund, approve or disapprove countywide reappraisal plans submitted in accordance with Act 1185 of 1999. We perform ratio studies of real and personal property in each county. We also prepare and or furnish real and personal property assessment guidelines and forms for the use and guidance of county assessors, equalization boards, and other county officials. And we also promulgate rules and regulations for the assessment and appraisal process. Reappraisal, which I mentioned in the first bullet point, simply implies that there are periodic on-site inspections of all real property and that market values will update in a reappraisal year. So in Arkansas currently, all 75 counties are on a 5-year reappraisal, which means year 1, they start on-site inspections, and year 5, they will actually update the values and mail reappraisal notices. The term ratio studies means that we performed statistical analysis of all the sales that pertain to real property. All right, some different field operations responsibilities of the Arkansas Assessment Coordination Department. We audit and evaluate reappraisal progress and performance of all counties to ensure that all guidelines, laws, and regulations are met. We conduct real property sales validation and audits. To further explain sales validation, the sales validation process means that we are looking for sales that sold at market value. We're always looking for market value. So let's say, for instance, we have a foreclosure sale in a neighborhood, and that was the only foreclosure sale. We would then look to eliminate that sale from the sales file. We gather statistical information and prepare summary reports. We conduct studies related to the development and or improvement of ad valorem real estate appraisal methods. And we also provide special assistance to county officials on new or unusual appraisal situations. We also have an education program at the Arkansas Assessment Coordination Department. So we sponsor and conduct training courses and seminars for county elected officials, county employees, reappraisal firms, and county boards of equalization members. The authority that provides that we educate the county's Board of Equalization members is Act 659 of 2017. We also sponsor an annual fall educational conference for county assessors and their staff. And we administer a professional development recognition payment program, which for those assessment professionals in the state of Arkansas that achieve different educational milestones, they are then provided an annual stipend. Some different types of property that we audit and look at and that are assessed in the state of Arkansas. The first and probably the biggest is real estate, which is defined as the land and improvements permanently affixed thereto, which includes but is not limited to land, dwellings, and utility buildings. Real property is assessed between the first Monday in January through July 1st of every year. Arkansas Code Annotated 2626903 says that every person of full age and sound mind shall list the real property of which he or she is the owner, situated in the county in which he or she resides, and the personal property of which he or she is the owner. The county assessor may relieve the person of this requirement by listing the current year's assessment of real property from a previous property list or from a changed list based on a reassessment of the value of the real property of the owner. Next, we have personal property, which consists of movable items not permanently affixed to or part of the real estate. So that which is not real is personal property. And this includes, but is not limited to, cars, trucks, aircraft, ATVs, and livestock. Property owners are required to assess every year from January 1st through May 31st. And a 10% penalty is applied if assessed after May 31st. One exception to this is for items purchased between May 2nd and May 31st. So there is a little leeway if purchased in the month of May. Business personal property includes, but is not limited to, business inventory and furniture and fixtures, which includes desks, computer equipment, shelving, tables, chairs, file cabinets, and air compressors. Business owners are required to assess every year from January 1st through May 31st, and a 10% penalty again is applied if assessed after May 31st. Utilities include, but are not limited to, items assessed through the Public Service Commission, which include certain pipelines, railroads, airlines, telephones, and electrical companies. And these are assessed annually through March 1st, and the records are given to the assessor's offices on or before July 15th of every year. Next, we have minerals, which are broken down into two categories. There are producing and non-producing minerals. Producing mineral interests are assessed for ad valorem, or according to value, purposes at market value. Market value is the price a willing buyer from the open market would pay for the mineral interest in current prevailing market conditions as of the assessment date, which in the state of Arkansas is January 1st annually. Non-producing minerals have a $0 value for the purpose of property tax assessment. Next, we have a breakdown of statewide parcel counts by type. We can see here that residential property and minerals share about a third of the entire parcel count. Commercial plus industrial makes up roughly 3%, and then from there we have vacant land and exempt properties, which make up the rest. And our total statewide parcel count is roughly 3,200,000. In the state of Arkansas, all property owners have due process to appeal their property value. And what that means is they could have an informal meeting with the assessor, which simply is picking up the phone to call the assessor or assessment professional to inform them that they don't agree with the value. Second, it could go to a Board of Equalization hearing. So we're getting toward the more formal. Board of Equalization appointments start the 1st of August and typically run through October 1st or until the Board of Equalization is done hearing appeals. Board of Equalization hearings can be booked through the 3rd Monday in August. So there is a statutory deadline for when you can book a Board of Equalization hearing. If the taxpayer doesn't receive satisfaction from the Board of Equalization, they can go to county court, which is a hearing with the county judge. If no satisfaction is granted from that appeal, the appellant can go on to circuit court and could potentially go to the Supreme Court of the state of Arkansas. Next, we have a simple exercise on estimating taxes. In the state of Arkansas, we are a 20% assessment state. So the assessed value is equal to 20% of the market value. So if our example here says we have a market value of $200,000, 20% of that would be $40,000. So $40,000 is our assessed value. Next, we have an example millage rate of 45.6. Mills means that is the rate in dollars per thousand of assessed value. So millage rate expressed as a decimal in this case would be 0.0456. So we would take our assessed value times 0.0456, and our estimated taxes in this case would be $1,824. Next, Amendment 79 to the state constitution was voted in around the year 2000. And it gave us a few pretty neat things like the homestead tax credit, taxable value freeze limitations, and taxable value freezes. First, the homestead tax credit allows for up to $350 off of your real estate taxes annually. The taxable value limitations say that your taxable value can only go up at the rate of 5% per year until it reaches full market value if you have the homestead, and then 10% per year if you don't have the homestead. So your non-homestead residential, vacant land, and commercial, the taxable value can all go up at 10% per year. Taxable value freezes can be put in place for those who are 65 years of age or older or disabled. Okay, next is exemptions. And most of these are listed in Article 16, Chapter 5 of our state constitution. So public property can qualify to be tax exempt. Churches used as churches, cemeteries, school buildings and apparatus, libraries and grounds used for school purposes, buildings and grounds used exclusively for charity, and intangible personal property. Intangible personal property is something like a stock or a bond. Some important dates to know if you're a taxpayer. Personal property must be listed with the assessor by May 31st annually. The deadline to file an appeal with the Board of Equalization is the third Monday in August, and the deadline to pay any property tax is October 15th annually, unless October 15th falls on a weekend. Then there is a grace period to the next Monday. Okay, some helpful links. We have the Assessment Coordination Department website, which is www.arkansas.gov/ACD. We have the Arkansas Association of Counties, which is www.arcounties.org. Next, we have the website for the International Association of Assessing Officers, which is www.iaao.org. Next, we have the state's Oil and Gas Commission, which is www.aogc.state.ar.us. Next is my contact info. Again, I'm Mark Wyers, the Division Administrator of Ratio Studies for the Arkansas Assessment Coordination Department. Bear Cheney is our Director, and John Nichols is our Staff Attorney. And also special thanks to Wayne Miller, who is a professor for the U of A System Division of Agriculture. And at this point, I'll entertain any questions you have, Wayne.
Okay, thank you very much, Mark. The Arkansas legislature passed Act 1185 in 1999,
Correct.
in part to try to make property assessments more uniform across the state.
Correct.
Does AACD or Assessment Coordination Department have a role in ensuring that properties are assessed uniformly across the state? And so how do you go about it?
Absolutely. So we have a few different roles in those matters. The first being performance audits. So anytime a county is going through a reappraisal cycle, we do have auditors in the field who are monitoring reappraisal progress. So they will actually pull samples of properties and remeasure and make sure that the county's data collectors are collecting the correct information. Also, we perform ratio studies on those counties who are completing real estate reappraisals. So what that means is we actually look at sales ratios. On the sold properties, we're going to take the assessed value divided by the sale price, and that will give us a median ratio. That allows us to look at what percentage the assessed values make up in sales prices. And then from there, we can run a number of statistics to ensure that the counties are reappraised at the proper level and statutory levels.
What rights do I have as a property owner?
So I would say the biggest right that you have is the due process to appeal your property value. A few slides ago, I mentioned the appeals process. So first, you could just simply call your assessor and say, hey, I have a problem with my property value. I think it's too high. And then from there, after an informal meeting, you would go through the formal appeals process. So Board of Equalization, County Court, Circuit Court, or Supreme Court.
When I first came to Arkansas, part of an area of a county was reassessed without reassessing the whole county. Can this be done today? And speak more about the countywide reappraisal process.
That cannot be done today, and I believe the authority for that is Act 1185 of 1999. Not sure exactly what that says off the top of my head, but anytime a county goes through a reappraisal process, that implies that the whole county is reappraised at that time.